Hello FPL managers and welcome to this week's FPL video focusing on game week 27. We'll be looking at how my team performed in game week 26, my transfers for the game week, as well as next week's starting lineup. Finally, we'll be looking at last week's predictions before going on to this week's predictions on who I think would be best to avoid, pick and take a risk on for game week 27. So this video might be a little bit shorter today. I've had a colonoscopy and something removed from my head, but even that has not been as painful as the last 3 game weeks that I've had in FPL. This week, you can see I've been forced to play a 5-4-1 with the whole back line only scoring 5 points. Sane dropped again, which we'll get into my predictions, but I did mention that. Rashford missed out. I think it was a dead leg and they didn't want to risk him with United's very difficult fixtures coming up. So he missed out against Fulham in that dominant display. So despite Salah and Pogba's great performance for me this week, clearly below average, and it's another really unfortunate week. You could claim this is due to my my punt on a weaker defense or a cheaper defense, but even looking at it, Alexander-Arnold came on. Adam Smith, I didn't want him to play. He was away against Liverpool, so it would have been 3 or 4 at the back. But Johnny as well, disappointed in that Newcastle result at home, even though they got a last-minute equaliser. Wan-Bissaka as well at Palace. It's just, you look across the board, Hazard got thumped, that's fine. But Jota as well, not really getting anything at home to Newcastle. I have gone the cheap option with going 3 for Wolves there, but you would think, given a top 10 side and Newcastle struggles at home, and they're pretty good at home, would have thought they would have got a little bit more there. But there you go, it's another difficult game week for me there. So moving on to this week's transfers, and I've gone for a -4 hit. Unfortunately, I wanted to avoid this for the rest of the season. So the changes were required, and there were ones I was going to do anyway, but I was going to make it a little bit longer, but I just wanted to get it out of the way now before prices rise up, because with the way that I'm thinking, if the prices go up too much, I'm not going to be able to afford it. So 2 transfers. First change, Pereira in for Trent Alexander-Arnold. You're probably thinking, why now? I didn't do it earlier because he was just, I knew he probably wasn't going to play, so he was going to just switch out on the bench. And I know that he is back now, but I need that third Liverpool space because Pereira has come in now for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that means that I can swap Sane out for Mane, and that is a transfer I've done before already this season. And again, you're probably thinking that, well, they've got United coming up, but with actual, again, we need to now look at just form over fixtures. So if you look at Mane's recent form, he's actually been in good nick. He's scored in the last 4 games, and the fact that I don't have any United or Liverpool defenders, I'm hoping for a goal fest. And the fact that I've got Liverpool's front 3, you think, well, if they have a bad game week, I'm going to have a bad game week. That's fine, but they've got no blanks, they've got no doubles. And right now, again, you're probably thinking, why not Son? So many people have gone for Son. And I know Mane is still at 21% ownership, and it does hurt me. It really does hurt me every time that Son does something. But I'm going to come on to why I would avoid him for this week. But so hold on for that. I'm going to go for Mane for now rather than Son. I could bring in Son for Hazard. However, despite Chelsea's ridiculous iffy form at times this season, I mean, they've just been thumped 6-0 by Man City. I can't still take Hazard out. I could take him out for Son, that's fine. But looking at his fixtures, he's going to blank. Then he's going to face Spurs. But then he's got a nice run. And we're looking like Chelsea's going to have a really good double game week at some point, so I'm reluctant to take him out at the moment. So the idea that I've had, so this leaves me now with 1.2 million in the bank, and I could either use that money to improve my defense, because for example, Adam Smith has come in, he's played 2 game weeks, he scored 0 points, so he has literally been useless to me. Or I can improve my midfield from Jota, but again, I quite like Wolves. I know they've let me down against Newcastle there, but still got great fixtures. Can wait until sort of week 30, week 31 if I want to switch him out for somebody else. I don't need to do it now when he's playing Bournemouth, who are out of form, Huddersfield away and Cardiff at home, especially now he's in that joint partnership up front with Raul Jimenez. So maybe upgrade Johnny, maybe upgrade the defence, maybe upgrade the midfield. But what I was thinking, but I'm still going to hold off on it, is the fact that with the money left in the bank, I can upgrade. I say upgrade, I mean money-wise, not form-wise, Rashford to Vardy, because I was thinking of actually changing Firmino to Vardy. I do feel like with Leicester's run of fixtures, the idea was going to be Firmino to Vardy this week, but with the issues that I've had at the back and I wanted to change it, that's not been the case. But if you look at Leicester's fixtures from now, game week 27 to game week 35, and Vardy he had a crazy game week. He played just over 30 minutes. He had a penalty saved after just coming on, and he scored a goal. But I think he only scored 3 points in this game week because obviously missed penalty, didn't play 90 minutes, but he did score a goal. I just want to double check that because I did look at him earlier. Yeah, 3 points, 31 minutes, 1 goal, penalty saved, goals conceded there. So I am leaning towards Jamie Vardy inside, maybe for Firmino, but Firmino has actually been doing pretty well recently. More assists than not, he kind of plays in that false nine role. But again, if Liverpool have a tough game week, I'm going to have a really tough game week if we've got 3 of them. So, and Leicester don't double or blank, so he won't miss any games unless he's not starting like he did, unfortunately, against Spurs. So that's going to be my starting 11 for this week. Again, I am going to be relying on Wolves and hoping for a goal fest between United and Liverpool because, like I said, I don't have any of the defenders and I obviously can't change all of the players. And I wouldn't want to anyway because, for example, I've got Pogba and even Hazard and Salah and Firmino before all the price rises. So I'm not going to take them out to bring them back in a week later. I'm hoping it's going to be a really good game. So... And also something I'm aiming for is I will have 11 players on the pitch. And that is always my personal priority when it comes to these blank game weeks. Especially there's 4 teams I'm playing this weekend. 3 popular teams, City, Chelsea, and a lot of people have had Everton assets this season. Maybe even the odd, Duffy or Murray from Brighton. So I would expect to see maybe some people this week not even having 11 players on the pitch because they didn't think about their subs. They just wanted to get a good starting 11. This is why I thought about my subs. So Hazard's not going to play. Adam Smith is my first choice at home. Solanke, I had thought about it because he does seem to be playing. See, 61 minutes and 31 minutes. But Adam Smith should be playing 90. Let's risk it. And I'm going to go with Solanke at home. Hopefully he's going to maybe come into some form. That might change, but the fact that apart from Button, who I do want to change for Boruc at some point at Bournemouth, even if Solanke doesn't play, Smith should play 90 minutes, and if Smith doesn't play, Bednarek should play 90 minutes. Ideally, I don't want that as away at Arsenal, but going into the game week, I'm happy that I will have 11 players on the pitch, even if they're not particularly great. That was what I talked about a few weeks ago, what I wanted to happen now for these blank game weeks coming up. So as we move on to the predictions from last week, so now we can stop talking about my team. I'm just going to move this. Well, you can see actually just above my head there. See, I was completely right about players to avoid, and that was Sane, Chelsea, and Bournemouth. So 100% right in that category. Sane, I mentioned that he just gets dropped. I feel sorry for him. Sometimes it feels like he's a bit of a scapegoat, and he's not entirely blamed. But if there's someone going to get dropped, rotated he was less. But if someone's going to get dropped or blamed for something, it's Sane. And unfortunately, as well for us Sane owners, we were burnt for the double game week. Couldn't get rid of him, and because I'd already made the transfers, and there you go. He's been dropped again. It's been tough. I've already said I'm done with City assets. It's not worth having players that are the most expensive really to have in your team to not be nailed on starters. Even Aguero, like I always have had Aguero, always. Every season I've always had Aguero. I even had him this season, but took him out when he got injured and didn't have enough money to bring him back. But I still don't feel like he's going to start all the time, or he's, it's always a risk because he'll play 60 minutes and get replaced by Jesus. He's a top quality player that probably will score in that 60 minutes. But I personally don't want to be going into game weeks where it's just like, oh yeah, he's starting. He's got 60 minutes to do something. So Sane's dropped. I don't know when he's going to come back. And for me, a 9.5 million player where I can swap it for Mane, who's got 4 goals in 4 games and basically plays 90 minutes all the time for Liverpool, who are #1 or #2 in the league. You know, they keep changing with City at the moment. Easy call. Chelsea, I said avoid, and yep, they got battered 6-0 in an unbelievable result. And I've said about the sort of toxic attitude, and we don't know if it's the players of Chelsea, because this isn't the first time that this has happened at Chelsea with managers with a good reputation, or it's Sarri. You know, he tried to do a bit of reverse psychology, like, oh, maybe I'm not the right man, maybe they don't want to play for me. But yeah, there you go, battered 6-0. I don't know what's going to happen there. Even though they had a great result against Huddersfield, I did say, no disrespect, it was Huddersfield at home, and there you go, battered 6-0. And then Bournemouth couldn't pull off anything at Anfield, and they were beaten soundly 3-0. So going on to players to pick, I said Aubameyang. Again, these videos are made earlier on in the week, and there's nothing I could do about that. He was a late withdrawal. I think he had the flu, or he had some kind of illness, so there was nothing I could do about that. Salah was a right call. He got 8 points against the Cherries, and he could have actually got more. Liverpool, if they were a little bit more clinical, they could have really put 5 or 6 or 7 goals past Bournemouth. They were looking really good. And then Raul Jimenez, despite, I think he had the most shots in the box for this game week, and blanked in that Monday Night Football against Newcastle, where there was a bit of a debate at the end about Wolves' equaliser. For me, 9 times out of 10, if you have hands on the goalkeeper, it's a foul. And I was pretty surprised that it wasn't blown for a foul, but there you go. Wolves, I believe, as well, have scored the most goals in stoppage time, in additional time. So that might be a factor. I don't know. For me, I think it was very harsh on Newcastle. They managed to keep them at bay, and like I said, 9 times out of 10, hands on the goalkeeper, it is a free kick. So finally, you can see Batshuayi blanked. He didn't start. He's maybe not ready to start in place of Benteke yet, but he did have a really good chance, and Palace just could not finish any chances at all in the game. They did manage to pull back an equaliser, but Batshuayi, he did have a great chance, and I do see him becoming their #1 striker, because Benteke is just consistently out of form. Bobby Reed, I was right. Cardiff beat Southampton earlier in the season, and I thought Cardiff were going to beat them again, and they did in a really thrilling finale. Unfortunately, Reed had nothing to do with it. He was brought off earlier. And Deulofeu picked up a bonus point. He got 3 points this week in their 1-0 win. And again, I know he blanked this week, but he is seemingly playing in a more advanced role. So he's still, for me, someone to definitely keep an eye out on. So moving on to this game week's predictions. And first of all, I'm just going to move it over here so you guys can see what's behind my head. And we'll start with the players or clubs to avoid. So before I move this back, you can see Man City, Chelsea, Brighton, Everton. I just want to remind you guys, it's a blank game week. They won't play. All right, so if you do have any of those assets, you can maybe take out, or make sure you've got substitutes that can come in for that 1 game week to replace them. Remember, those 4 teams are not playing this week. I'm going to talk about Son now. You're going to look at me and think, what are you talking about? Nonsense. You're a low player. I mean, usually my predictions are pretty all right. I've got rotten luck with my own team, but I'm not saying anything bad about Son. I would love to have him in my side. Here's the reason why I'm not playing Son. They have Burnley, right? No, again, no disrespect to Burnley, but Heung-min Son played in the summer, and then he started the season. He was rested a little bit, but he's tired. He's just come back from the Asian Cup, where he himself said he's running on fumes, and he was thrown straight into the Spurs side because they were desperate. They needed someone out there, and he is delivering. I am not at all questioning this man's ability. You can see right in front of you right now, look at these points: 13-5, 13-2, 0. Yeah, he didn't play. 9, 11, 6. He's getting goals, he's getting assists, but I don't think he's going to play this game week. So if you've not got him right now, if you've got him, then probably put him in your starting 11, because you've already got him. But if you've not got him right now, because I am still thinking of getting him in the future, I'm not completely ruling him out. But the fact that you've got Champions League coming up for one thing, but you can see 23rd, 27th, second. If this middle game would have been Burnley, I could have maybe seen him playing him. But the fact that Harry Kane is injured, so they still do need him. But Can he do 3 games in a week? No, he's not going to play 90 minutes. And for me, it's that category with what I was saying about Sane. I can't have he's 8.9 million now. I can't have an 8.9 million player who might play. I like having players that definitely play for that price. So if he's not in your side now and you're thinking, well, his form's great, he's in, I even said myself, choose form over fixtures, that's fine. I just feel like if he does play these 3 games, I feel sorry for him because he's so tired and he's putting so much in and he always puts everything that he's got into his games that if you're going to rest him, it's going to be against Burnley. You need him against Chelsea. You need him against Arsenal. And for me, again, even though it's form over fixtures, do I want to choose him away to Chelsea at home to Arsenal? Yeah, he could probably exploit that, but I just don't see him actually playing in this game week. So going back as well to avoid, and I've just put United and Liverpool and specifically their defenders. The reason why I'm thinking these 2 sides, it's because I cannot call it. I really, despite Liverpool looking fantastic, and City are obviously looking fantastic as well, so they are the 2 outstanding teams for the season. United's resilience and improvement since Solskjaer's taken over has made this really tough to call. If this was at Anfield, I would have probably just said avoid United. But the fact that this is at Old Trafford, you've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and they're in a really good run of form. So you've got a United manager who was a United player who knows exactly how much this fixture means. And you've got young players like Rashford, they came through the United system. They know how much it means. Pogba as well. He did come through the new system. He knows how important this particular fixture is. This is arguably just as big, if not bigger, than being against Man City. It's a huge game. And then you've got Liverpool, like you've obviously got Salah, Mane, Firmino. Even you could claim Robertson is a threat in that, or Van Dijk, anything like that. But for me, it's just too close to call for me to risk. I've got these players, and I don't have any of the defenders. I would avoid definitely the defenders. But then you can argue, is it going to be 0-0? Is it going to be so tight it's going to be goalless? Or is it going to be the opposite and both teams are just going to attack? And, Salah's going to get 2 goals and Pogba's going to get a goal and Rashford's going to get a goal. So the reason why I'm saying it's avoid, if you've not got them, is it's just too close to call. You don't know what team is going to kind of come out. So that is why I personally would avoid these 2 sides, because it's either going to be sort of like 0-0 or 3-3, and I'm not too sure where it's going to go. United are in great form. They're revitalised under Solskjaer. And you've got Liverpool who've been playing wonderful football this season. I can't call it. Play to pick, I'm going to stick with Aubameyang. The simple reason why, he's at home to Southampton, and I think he's going to haul, especially with some of the other clubs having difficult fixtures. Spurs still don't really have an out-and-out striker. United have got Liverpool. It's too close to call. Chelsea and City are blanking, so if there's an attacker that you want, it is probably going to be Aubameyang. And I've gone for Felipe Anderson, someone who's in my side for a very long time, and he is at home to Fulham, who I'm surprised when they don't concede. I don't have it offhand how many clean sheets they've kept this season. I don't see them keeping one against West Ham. And Felipe Anderson has been a great FPL asset this season for when I had him before I took him out. And again, he is someone that I might think about bringing back in for the likes of Jota. But for me, this week, Felipe Anderson is a good shout. And then I've got Vardy at home to Palace. The reason why, again, great fixtures, no blanks and double game weeks. So if you get him in now, now is for me the perfect time to bring in Leicester assets. The only problem that I'm having with Leicester recently is their form. But I mean, the last 3 games have been Tottenham, Manchester United, and Liverpool. So you can't blame them. I mean, they got 1-1 draw away at Liverpool, which is a great performance, but they just got beat by United, and then they did get beat by Spurs 3-1. So you might want to wait a game week or 2 before you bring in some Leicester players, but the fact that now they're on like a 7 or 8 game week run of really nice fixtures before those prices go up, I think now would be a good time to get Vardy in. Finally, we look at the players to avoid, the players to take a risk on for this game week. And the people that I've chosen are Jota, I am going to stick with him. I'm surprised. I really thought he had a higher ownership percentage than what he actually has. He's only selected by 3.6%. But again, Wolves still have great fixtures. Bournemouth, he's away at Bournemouth. They've been on a bad run of form, really conceding a lot of goals, and Wolves do pretty good on the road. So I am hoping that he's going to do something, and I'm really shocked he's under 5% ownership considering his form when he's been playing, and he's more of a striker at the moment than a midfielder. And at 6 million, I think that's a really, really good price. Rondon, a person that I've had in my team as well, who's done the business. He is at home to Huddersfield, and I think he did score in the reverse fixture. But again, if there's a team that's going to be conceding, similar to Fulham, you'd bet on Huddersfield conceding and Rondon being the man to put the goal in the back of the net. And then finally, Arnautovic, someone who was in my side for most of the season until he got injured, and then he was out of the side because of the issues with, is he going to move to a Chinese club or not? He's not. He stayed. He signed an extension. He only played 22 minutes against Palace. Apparently, he had a knock. He's a little bit injured. He is injury prone. But if he is going to be back this week, a home match against Fulham is definitely a sort of stage for him to come back and say, here I am, and I'm back in business, and I'm here at the club, my heart's in it, I'm going to show you all what you're missing, kind of thing. Because that seems to be the kind of player that he is. Like, he wants to show everyone that he's the boss. But again, like I said about Philippe Anderson, if there's going to be a game where he's going to get some goals, if he starts, then I think Arnautovic is a very good option, especially because as well, he's owned by only 6.6%. So that's it for this game week, guys. I hope it's all right for you, and it felt a little bit short. No, it's actually not. Maybe it's a little bit longer because I had a bit of a ramble, but hopefully you enjoyed it and found it a bit useful. And if you did, maybe leave a like. Let me know in the comments below, what are your plans for the first blank game week? Are you going to be struggling to get 11 players, or did you organize your subs? And what players do you think I should bring into my side? Because I could definitely do with a little bit of help. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and as always, have a good one.